Hello everyone, and welcome to the end of turn 6. So after the German turn, as you can see, they're getting pretty close to 36 victory points. They only need 6 more. And how did that happen? Well, let's move over to the other side of the board. The Germans have started retreating units off the board, and they can only do so between these two hexes, and not here obviously. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 hexes, but there were a couple of units pretty close to it. There were no Russian partisans or whatever to make it difficult for them to retreat, or they could be set up here if there's no German unit adjacent, and then they could block the exit hexes. Well, yeah, okay, the entry hex they could block to block all 3. Well, they could do so, as long as there are no German units adjacent, they could set up there. So that is something the Russians could have done, should have done, perhaps. So they exited a tank unit and a half-track unit, and they were complete units, so I've put them on the medal stand. In case you're wondering why are the town control medals Allied side up, well, that's simply easier for me to see. Also, when I clean up the board, well, it's a bit off topic, but it happens a lot that I forget that certain medals are on there, which is also why I turn the regular medals upside down, so Allied side facing up, so that when I clean up the board, they don't actually end up on the floor, or worse, get lost because I failed to spot them that they were actually lying there. So that's why I'm doing that, in case you're wondering. So that's how they gained 2 medals, and they also eliminated some units, I believe 1 or so. Here they played all in the center. On the center board, they played a probe, 2 on the left and 2 on the move. And on the left board, they played, well, the same card actually, 2 on the left and 2 on the move. So here what they did is, all in the center, they moved up a couple of units. I believe the infantry went from here to there or something like that. This tank unit went from the woods onto the bridge so that it could fire at the minesweeping tanks there. They scored a hit. The infantry unit fired, I believe it also scored a hit against another minesweeping tank unit. This unit missed. This unit moved into the woods hex over here, and they got another half-track reinforcement. Again, these exit markers are for the Russians, who can exit all along the board, and for each unit they exit, they actually score 2 victory points. What the Russian partisan units really should start doing, it's easy to forget about them when you're sitting on the Russian side of the board, and then you just see later on, oh wait a minute, I still have a partisan at the back. They should start trying to sabotage the railroads, because for each railroad hex they sabotage, they score 1 temporary medal. So that is something they really should start doing, something they should have done before. Or maybe also reinforcements, you should concentrate them, that is an option as well, and take on some German units in the rear or whatever, just to take them on from 2 sides. Such a lone unit, yes, they can and should have by now, I suppose, attempted to once or twice sabotage a railroad hex and to score a victory point that way, but they can also enforce attack German units from the rear. By the way, when it comes to those sabotaging rules for the railroad hexes, in order to be able to do so, not all hexes are eligible. There always needs to be, so let's just say this one would be perfectly okay if they sabotaged it. They all would be, because there would have to be at least 1 German unit in front of it, so close to the Allied baseline in this case, Russian baseline, and no Russian unit in that particular section of the board can be ahead. So let's just say that there were a Russian unit here, a regular unit. I'm not talking about partisan, so non-partisan unit. Let's say there was one here. Then it would not be possible to sabotage this railroad hex, because it's actually in front of, well, actually behind in that case, if you will, the most forward, or a Russian unit. So it has to be behind the Russian front line, so to speak, and there has to be a German unit that could theoretically still be supplied by it. So at this point in the game, there's no problem whatsoever in doing so. But at a certain time, those possibilities will become smaller, and you, of course, still need to score a certain die roll. So it's not simply you roll 2 dice, you need to score at least 1 grenade result to damage a railroad hex, and the Germans can actually repair such a thing again, also by rolling 2 dice while being on it, and then they need to roll at least 1 star. In the center, what they did, was 2 on the left and 2 on the move. This unit moved back as well, also trying to make its escape. What else? Well, of course, these 2 units, as I said, already exited, and these 2 units fired. This one destroyed a tank unit, the last remaining figure, which I already removed, and this one I think should be removed still as well, because it's also the last one that's dead. This one scored a tank, which is a hit, obviously, and this one this one actually fired on the one over there. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They were both very successful. And over here, these 2 units moved forward. This unit fired and scored a hit on the Russian engineer unit. This unit moved from here to there, and this unit moved from here to there, and the tank unit moved into the village. So that's what's going on. Things are really starting to look very good for the Germans. It's high time the Russians start taking some town hexes so as to take away medals from the Germans and gaining some more themselves. But it's proven quite difficult. Maybe, again, as I've said before, they haven't been quite aggressive enough. I do also have to admit they haven't had too many attack cards, because they really need a couple of pontoon bridges to help them cross over here as well. For instance, it takes a while to get rid of the minefields, but again, I've been playing it very safely for the Russians and not actually moving into a certain minefield, which I've already removed a couple which turned out to be 0. So in this case, obviously they didn't go off. They wouldn't have gone off because it was a 0, but any other unit could have entered it too, and then more units could have followed it. So I have been playing quite conservatively as the Russians, I suppose. And this is the first playtest. Some things might still be changed, but there are definitely things the Russians could have and probably should have done differently. And of course, a very important thing, but in a way it's good that it happened, because what happens if the Germans make the die roll on the 2d6 very early on that's below the current turn number, which is what actually happened on turn 4. They rolled a 3 or something like that. So pretty early on they were allowed to stop, not being allowed to voluntarily move backwards. And that they no longer have to ignore flags. So normally speaking, that would have probably occurred somewhat later. But now it's actually possible for the Germans to quite quickly start exiting. So that's really what's been going on so far. And see you after the next one. Thank you for watching.